Hi everyone, my name is Celine Almazzini, and I'm going to be starting off our group project, reducing graffiti and littering in our city. Again, my name is Celine, and my partners in the group are Carla and Brianna. The presentation flow is going to go by me introducing the issue, explaining the causes, while Carla explains the current effects and consequences, and Brianna will conclude by explaining the existing solutions and the original plan. Why this topic matters. According to Keep America Beautiful and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, also known as the EPA, this topic matters because graffiti and littering make our neighborhoods look dirty and unsafe. This is a very big issue because when you walk into a neighborhood for the first time or when you're driving past a new neighborhood that you haven't entered before, if you're looking at it and it's a super dirty and you see a lot of maybe homelessness or littering and graffiti, you automatically feel like this is unsafe neighborhood. Like this is something that you would not want to walk on the streets for, and you automatically feel like this is not a place that you would want to be in or to have your children and your family around. Whereas on the other hand, when you have a clean neighborhood that people feel proud of, it can help people feel welcomed into the space. And when people take care of shared spaces, it also shows respect for the community. So when people take care of the streets and take care of the graffiti and littering, it shows respect for the area that they live in and it makes the area more desirable. Graffiti versus public art. So a lot of people get this one confused, especially graffiti artists, but to put it simply, graffiti is done without permission, and it's often placed on walls and signs in buildings that are not owned by the person that is doing the graffiti. So it's usually done illegally. That's vandalism. Whereas public art is done with approval, whether it's approval from a private property owner or it's planned with the city or the community. So it's done with permission, whereas graffiti is usually done without permission and it is usually considered to be vandalism. Causes of graffiti. According to Arizona State University for Center for Problem-Oriented Policing, some people do graffiti because of peer pressure. So if people are usually in a group of people or in a group of friends and they're all doing graffiti, they feel the need to get themselves included in that because if they don't do that, they feel like they're going to be excluded from the group. So a lot of people do it because of peer pressure and they want to feel included in a group. Others may do graffiti because they feel unnoticed. So, if someone is feeling like no one is noticing their efforts, maybe no one's noticing their art, sometimes they feel the need to put it on a big building or on big signs so that they can feel noticed and they could feel like their art is being shown to the world because they feel like they're not getting that attention. Graffiti can also happen when areas are not well maintained. So, this kind of is gonna go back into littering, but if you're gonna go into or walk into a place that you already feel like has trash all over it and it's not being well taken care of, a lot of people can feel like graffiti is not gonna be that big of a deal in their head. Maybe it's something that's to them like if there especially if there's already graffiti on the wall from somebody else, somebody can look at the graffiti and say, well, no one is really taking care of this area, so I might as well. In some cases, this is very, well, not very rare, but it can be more on the rarer side. Graffiti can be connected or linked to gangs and tagging. So, again, this is more on the rare side, but it's very possible a lot of gangs do graffiti so that they can mark their territory. But again, that's not most of graffiti. Okay, now we're going to get into the causes of littering. So this is going to tie slightly into graffiti, but not all the way. So some people litter because they do not care about the effects or they don't know about the effects. So a lot of people aren't really educated on what littering can do to the value or to the desirability of a city. They don't really think of it in the big picture. They only see it in the small point of view. But yeah, they just don't really care about the effects or they don't know about it. Another reason of littering can be some people litter because they feel like finding a trash can is harder. So they feel like it could be easier than finding a trash can. This kind of goes into my next point about the city not having enough trash cans nearby. So this is something that I feel like the city and the people that litter can work together on because I feel like if there are enough trash cans, around the city or trash cans nearby to make it accessible for people to throw away their trash, it'll make littering go much lower. Um, another reason of littering could be if an area is already dirty or people may feel like it's okay to add more trash. Again, this kind of goes in with littering because graffiti, because some people feel like it's okay to do graffiti if the area is already dirty. And for littering, it's very simple or very similar. People also feel like it's okay for them to litter if the area is already dirty and if there's already litter there. Okay, now Carla is going to be introducing the current state of the problem.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carla Cadengo, and I will be discussing the follow-up slides regarding our problem with graffiti and littering in neighboring cities. So, the first topic I'm going to speak about, it's going to be the current state of the problem. Um, this is actually some research from KTLA and the San Bernardino Sun, showing that between November 2025 and January 2026, several criminal reports of graffiti have been reported throughout the city of Yucaipa using monikers like CTE, AFS, and BFOR. And San Bernardino workers last year fielded approximately 15 calls a day to remove graffiti somewhere in town. This is a daily average, actually not including the 7 additional times that a day city employee themselves report graffiti. So this means that the 15 instances that they're receiving reports from, these are from citizens, and this is not including additional instances where employees do find graffiti and they have to make the reports themselves. So the neighboring image. So graffiti and litter actually change the way that an area can feel. For example, neighborhoods with a lot of graffiti and litter can start to look neglected, leading to lower community involvement and sometimes even more crime. So, in instances when our neighborhood has a lot of graffiti or a lot of litter, neighbors are less likely to use the community services, community parks, community amenities, and they're actually traveling to other cities because they get a sense that the area is either not safe or it's dirty. And neighborhoods that appear dirty or unsafe are less attracted to potential home buyers and businesses, which can hurt the local economy. So if there's the perception that a neighborhood is not safe based on the graffiti that we see on the walls or the litter we see on the floor, this can actually deter home buyers from buying in that area. This brings the home buyer economy lower, and also business owners are less likely to want to open their businesses there for fear of their businesses either being vandalized or robbed. So this can actually have effects in the local economy. And areas filled with graffiti and trash can make residents feel unsafe and uncomfortable, leading to less outdoor activity and weaker community connections. So, it is shown that in average, areas that have a lot of graffiti or a high amount of trash on the sites actually have less neighbors coming out and wanting to connect with others. And these actually, it's sort of a domino effect. So whenever neighbors are not going outside connecting, they're actually reducing the pride they feel in their city, which in turn can actually make them less likely to get involved with, you know, city cleanups or community startups whenever we have people cleaning up the sidewalks, cleaning up the parks, or painting the walls for graffiti. So whenever the area seems to be unsafe or dirty, neighbors are actually less likely to be active in the community. This also has some safety concerns. So, for example, people usually tend to avoid areas that appear uncared for because they can create a sense of discomfort or unease. Research on community disorder shows that visible signs like graffiti and litter can actually make people feel that a space is not well maintained or monitored, even if it's not actually dangerous. So this means that if there is, again, the perception that an area has a lot of graffiti or litter, it actually makes people feel Like there's a sense of unsafeness there, and they will tend to avoid those areas, even if the areas are well maintained or even if the areas are well monitored. It just gives a sense of uneasiness, and so people tend to visit those places less. And this perception can actually lower people's sense of safety and reduce trust in that area. So the environmental impact. So, how litter spreads and why it matters. So, litter often starts on the streets, sidewalks, and public spaces, and items like plastic bottles, food wrappers, and cigarette butts are commonly dropped on the ground. Wind and rain then carry this trash into the storm drains, and the storm drains actually, um, a lot of the times end in rivers, lakes, and oceans, increasing the pollution and um, the dirtying of our oceans. And overflowing bins and illegal dumping also adds to the problem because this has impacts on wildlife and public health. So, for example, animals may eat plastic or get trapped in debris. We've seen this, you know, with the dolphins or the turtles who get wrapped up in the can holders, or the turtles when they were getting straws stuck in their noses. So these straws actually end there because of littering. So we want to avoid littering as much as we can to just make sure that, we're saving our ecosystems and then keeping them, as clean as we can. Then cigarette waste releases harmful chemicals into the soil and water. And litter attracts pests like rats and insects, which carry disease. And then this can also have an impact on our public health, our community health, and just our community sense in general. And litter can actually make parks, sidewalks, and public areas feel unclean. So if they do feel unclean, people are less likely to visit the area, want to have some community time. And the last one, which is actually not listed here, it's the graffiti cleanup. A lot of the pushback we're receiving on the graffiti cleanup and the problem that graffiti creates, it's that we are using chemicals to clean up the graffiti, but these chemicals are also ending up on the storm drains, which are also actually draining into rivers, lakes, and oceans. So all of this has a high environmental impact, which we want to bring to the table. And then consequences if nothing changes. So one, we have the ongoing impacts of graffiti and litter. For example, cities actually spend money over and over on cleanup. We're talking about labor, equipment, supplies, and these are funds that are used repeatedly for cleanup that could go to parks, schools, or community programs to increase community involvement. The effects on community. Graffiti and litter can actually lower community and neighborhood pride. So people are less likely to take pride in their community and take an active role in cleaning up the city if they feel like nobody else is taking care of the city as well. And it weakens the trust and sense of shared responsibility, and residents may feel less motivated to care for public spaces. Um, and the last one, it's the cycle of the problem. So the same areas are often repeat problems. And if they're not addressed quickly, more litter and graffiti tend to appear. So the more time we take to take care of these areas, then the more chances are that the problem is going to increase and get to a level that it's going to be hard to maintain. So this creates a pattern that is hard to break over time. Then we're going to move over to my teammate Brianna, who's going to talk about the existing resolutions and our original plan. Thank you so much.